Now for our main event, as we have every year.
Your head's going to be in the back of the
We have this every year.
No, it's all right. I got it.
We have the joke throwdown by the Honorable Eugene Schwartzwald and Jay Kurtz.
Okay.
All right? Who goes first? Go ahead.
Jay goes first.
Judge, I almost didn't make it here today. I was getting my coffee this morning in Starbucks.
What happened?
The show was on, folks.
A woman, she dropped a scalding hot cup of coffee all over my crotch. She was so sorry, and I was in so much pain. But I didn't want to make her feel bad, so I asked her, Madam, was it regular or decaf? She goes, why do you ask? I said, if it was regular, it'll be up all night.
Wow. Judge Schwartzwald wrote that one.
That's a Schwartzwald joke.
I met an old girlfriend of mine from 40 years ago last week, and she used to work in a hamburger place. She always used to say to me, she can make a big boy in 3 minutes and a boy big in 2 minutes.
I made West again.
I was waiting for all my
Don't give up
friends.
your day job, Jay.
I was waiting for all my friends to get together to tell you that. Last night I hit a big lottery prize. So I told my wife, honey, we hit the lottery. Pack your bag. She says, should I pack for a warm climate or cold? I says, I don't care where you go, just leave.
That's it, peace, Henny Youngman.
Yes.
On a plane, there's a bird, a talking bird, sitting next to a drunk. And the bird, believe it or not, he says to the stewardess, you bitch, get me, buckle my seatbelt. Comes over, buckles his seatbelt. The drunk gets carried away. This bitch, buckle my seatbelt. Comes over, buckles his seatbelt. Wants to top it now, the bird. He says, you bitch, you hoe, get me a scotch and soda and make it pronto. Comes over with the drink. The drunk repeats it. For him, she comes over with 2 football players. They open up the door of the plane. They throw out the bird and the drunk. They're both going down together. And the bird says to the drunk, you know, for a guy with no wings, you have some set of balls.
That's new.
So, you know, once in a while, Kevin and I, we like to make a bet on a sporting event, on a horse race. Finally, Kevin, I figured out how to make our bets tax deductible. I told my bookie to change his name to Red Cross.
I heard on the news this morning this story. They took the heart out of a giant tortoise in the Galapagos Islands, and they sent it up to Mount Sinai, and they slapped it into an 82-year-old guy, into his heart. The miracle is not that he lived, or it only took him 3 days to get out of the hospital, but it took him 6 weeks to walk to his car.
Judge, if Tarzan and Jane were Jewish, what would Cheetah be? A fur coat. Hear about young Duvi? He comes home from Hebrew school so proud. He tells Mama, I got a part in the school play. Mama says, what part are you going to play? He says, a Jewish husband. She smacks him. He goes, you go back and tell him you want a talking part.
I took my grandchildren to the circus, and the economy's so bad, but the tickets were still pricey. But they're still cutting down. Instead of having a bearded lady, they just had a lady with a 5 o'clock shadow.
So anyway, Frenchman, an Italian, and a Jew are having lunch, and they're talking about last night's lovemaking session. And the Italian says, last night, I smothered my wife's body with extra virgin olive oil. We made love, she screamed for 5 minutes. The Frenchman says, forget it. Last night, I rubbed my wife's body with butter. We made love, she screamed for 10 minutes. The Jewish guy says, listen, last night I swiped my wife's body with schmaltz. For the non-Jews, schmaltz is chicken fat. It's disgusting. He says, we made love. She screamed for an hour. French and Italian did, an hour? How'd you make her do that? He says, afterwards, I wiped my hands on the drapes.
They had this Irish couple coming over from Dublin, and she said to him, his name was Patrick, her name was Maureen. Miss Patrick, what did you do today? She went to the Borders bookstore, and I read a book called The Joy of Sex. She says, did you learn anything for us? I learned a new position called the wheelbarrow. It's the wheelbarrow? Pray tell, what is that? Remember, Maureen, when we went to school in Dublin, we had the wheelbarrow races. I'd hold your hand, you'd hold your legs and you'd walk on your arms. Oh yes, look, Patty, you know, she says, Pat, you know, I love you, I'll do anything for you, but you have to promise me two things. If my back starts to hurt, you let me stop. And you have to promise not to walk me past my mom's house.
So, Herman and Esther, they go to the doctor, and the doctor calls Herman in, and he tells him, listen, you got very short time left. It's very serious illness. So, with that, he calls Esther in. He says, Esther, bad news, Herman has a very short time to live. But listen, I want you to go home, give him all the sex you can. I want you to go home, let him watch all the sports you can. I want you to go home and cook all his favorite meals you can. Maybe with all this pleasure you're going to give him, a miracle's going to happen. Maybe. Esther walks out, so Herman says, Esther, what did the doctor say? She says, you're going to die.
I had a very strange dream last night. I dreamt I was a long-distance truck driver, and I picked up this lady who confided in me that she was a magician. And while we were driving, she put a hand on my thigh, and I turned into a motel.
Yesterday I went to the doctor. I said, Doc, I can't stop singing these songs, The Green, Green Grass at Home, and What's New Pussycat. I can't stop singing these songs. The doctor says, you got Tom Jones syndrome. I says, Doc, is that common? He says, it's not unusual.
That was great. My wife and I were trying to figure out what heavy metal music was. So we went to a place where they serve food. An old waiter dropped a tremendous tray of dishes. There was a deafening noise, and then three young couples got up and started to dance.
We're all the civil servants here. Why should our civil servants never look out the window in the morning?
Why?
We'll have nothing to do in the afternoon. That's a Jew joke.
That's when the hours supposed to be.
Dear Abby, my husband is a sex maniac. Morning, noon, and night, he's all over me. While I'm washing the dishes, while I'm on the phone, she signs it, worn out. P.S. Please excuse the jerky handwriting.
So Herbie went through an awful divorce, and the wife's divorce lawyer, he broke Herbie's shoes throughout the entire proceeding. So the divorce is over, Hanukkah rolls around, Herbie sends the wife's divorce lawyer a burial plot for Hanukkah gift. Next year rolls around, the wife's divorce lawyer calls Herbie, Herbie, last year you sent me a burial plot, this year nothing more gifts? He says, you didn't use what I gave you last year.
When I got out of career, I tried to get a job as a lion tamer in my uncle's circus in Elmira, New York. He was retiring. So he says, Jeannie, come up, I'll tell you, it's nothing hard. He said, what do I do, Uncle Dave? First the whip. I said, suppose he gets the whip. Then the chair. Suppose he gets the chair. So last resort, Jeannie, the gun. Suppose the gun jams. Then you'll pick up this shit and you'll throw it in the lion's face. He says, where the hell am I going to get this shit from? He says, trust me.
When I was 13, I had my bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
So I had an Italian friend, Tony. So he had a birthday. I got a beautiful Rolex watch from Dad. Tony got a 38 from his father for his birthday. So we said, look, let's switch gifts. So Tony goes home. He says, Dad, look, me and Jay switched gifts. He gave me his bar mitzvah watch. So Tony said, Tony, he said, you a smart boy. I give you the best school. You're going to marry a beautiful girl. You're going to get a good job. One day, you're going to come home to your wife. She's going to be in bed with another man. What you going to do? Tell her time's up?
And about 40 years. They're having sex. He looks at her. She looks at him. Neither one seems to be enjoying it. He says to her, "What's the matter, darling? You can't think of anyone either?"
Well, Herman and Esther, Herman's always chasing Esther around the bedroom. She says, no, not tonight. So Herman says, Esther, on your plot, I'm going to write, here lies Esther cold as ice. She goes, Herman, on your plot, I'm going to write, here lies Herman, stiff at last.
I had a grandfather. He was the last of the Jewish gunfighters in the West. And he's in a bar with Billy the Kid. And he says, "Billy, how can I be as good as you?" He says, "Jake, raise the gun belt. You'll save a fraction of a second in pulling it out." So he pulls out the gun and he shoots the earring off the piano player. He says, "Billy, anything else?" "Yeah. Cock the gun before you put it in so you don't have to take it and cock it on the way out. Save another fraction of a second." "Thanks, Billy. Let me try it." And he shoots the bottle of beer out of the piano player's hand. "Anything else, Billy? God bless you." He says, "Yeah, you see the lubricant Jake at the end of the bar? Lubricate the gun. The whole gun or just the handle?" "The whole gun." "Why the whole gun?" "When Wyatt Earp gets up from playing that piano."
I have a hand. Judge Rosenberg, I worked for him for a few years. Down in his chambers, downstairs, he has a big mirror. And every day he walked by the mirror and he said, "Mirror, mirror, who's the fairest of them all?"
Hooray.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Good show.
Isn't that cute?